regulatory.
Hello everyone, how are we all doing? Come on in, sit on down. Welcome to another episode of the Truth at Therapy Sessions, episode 83. My, how the time flies. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I've just spent the last 10 minutes talking into the air because I forgot to hit go live. So I've already done 10 minutes of a show that I've got to somehow recapitulate for you guys. There's nothing like a technical difficulty on a Sunday evening, shall we say. But, you know, it comes part and parcel with being on YouTube. These things happen, and this isn't, trust me, this is not the first time. My wife knocked on the door and came in when I was in the middle of a bit of a presentation, and she was like, I don't think it's live. I just, like, slapped my head on the microphone. I was like, right, deep breath, let's do this again. And so here I am, guys. I want to apologize, first of all, for my voice. As you can hear, it's a little bit hoarse. It's cooked, as some people say. I am nursing a horrible, horrible sore throat and illness. It's kicked in over the past few days. With the warm weather, I seem to have somehow come down with just the worst sinus infection. It's really bad. I don't even get like hay fever. This is like the first time this has kind of happened. But yeah, it's rough. It's really rough. So I'm trying my best. I'm going to try and go for as long as I can. Would like this, but in the meantime, you can listen to my deep, sultry tones. You know, maybe it's better than usual. I have no idea what you guys hear, but yes, I'm here anyway because I need to celebrate. It's time to celebrate. I've reached 90,000 subscribers, and I've got to tell you guys, I am surprised I made it this far. I did not see this coming. I really didn't see. I'm dubious of whether or not I might even make it over the 100,000 mark, to be honest, because YouTube is a fickle mistress, and she could just rip that rug out from under me at any moment over some arbitrary rule change that they're going to kick in at any random time. And something I may have said on a video 7 years ago will get flagged by the AI algorithm, and I'll be condemned as Satan himself and taken away from this platform. You never know. So if you do want to keep listening to me, go over to like Spotify or iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from, because everything I do is uploaded in podcast format on there as well. So you can still find me, even if YouTube does decide to take everything away. But no, 90,000, that's brilliant. That's incredible. I mean, I can't even visualize 90,000 people. Like, those are stupid numbers, aren't they? Those are big, incomprehensible type scales of numbers. And I find it's best just not to think about it, to be honest, when doing this, as not to get some kind of metaphorical stage fright of some kind. And obviously not every video gets 90,000 views that I put out, and I have people who may not even realize the reason to subscribe to me anymore. It's a bit of a random one, but for those who have been with me since the beginning, thank you if you're still around. It's been a roller coaster. I've gone through many stages. You know, I've gone through many different topics throughout the years, you know, and thanks for sticking around if you have been here since 2014. It's been a long time, you know. We've been through it, haven't we? You know, it's been a wild ride, that's for sure. But many of you would have joined me maybe in 2016 when I started the Nephilim clown research, and I did not know then that I would end up becoming what I am today. When I first started this channel, I had no idea. I was actually looking back at Baby Paul, not just earlier today. Someone recommended I talk with Pete from his Dark Sayings YouTube channel, and I was like, Pete, I think I know that guy. And I remembered, actually, I do know him. I actually have had him on my channel years ago when he was going by the name of somebody called Creepy Little Buck. And I liked his style, and I was like, dude, come on, come talk, let's do this, and he was like, yeah, let's do it, because that's just how it works on YouTube. You just chat to one another, and I'll show you the video I was watching. I'll just make sure to mute it here quickly. Sorry. I'm sorry if sound just blasts out. Nope, we're all good. And I was like looking at myself, and I'll share the screen with you, and I'm like, I look like a baby. I've aged horribly. Look how thin I am. Like, I was beautiful. What happened? I'll tell you what happened. 2 kids happened. Okay, but no, seriously, I barely recognize this person. And I sound the same. Like, the voice is still the same. My inflection's the same. Like, I'm still me quintessentially. But I'm kind of obviously a bit more naive. I don't know as much about the truth. I'm still guessing a lot of things. I'm hyper speculating and philosophizing on things. I probably have no clue what I'm talking about, like you do in the early days. But just looking at me and watching me on this, I was like, oh no, what happened? Look how young and thin I look. My beard hasn't even grown in properly by this point, But it's like humble beginnings, and seeing these things did just remind me, of how long of a journey this has actually been to get to where I am today. I did not know I'd end up having a book published. I did not realize I would, meet so many amazing people and talk to so many incredible people at different levels of the truth of culture from all different angles, and actually be a part of the conversation. I didn't know then that I would actually in some way, I suppose make it, actually be a voice in this amazing community of people who have such varying beliefs. It's incredible, but here we are, still trying to hash it all out together and get to the bottom of things. And it's humbling. It is a humbling experience. And like I said, God has truly guided me and provided everything I have, and all glory to him and thanks to him for this, especially today. He has risen. This is the day we're supposed to remember that he did rise from the grave and conquer death on our behalf, so we might have a way back to the Father, and amen on that, Whatever you want to take Easter as a day, because I understand the occult connotations to Ishtar and everything else. I'm not naive, but I prefer to think about Christ every day, and today is no different to me, but today I suppose it's extra special to many people for that reason. But yeah, it does feel like there's been a guiding hand throughout all of this, and I'm not one to say like, the God spoke to me or anything like that, or the Holy Spirit told me that this is the truth or something. I've always entered everything I've done with tempered reason, and with the caveat that this is just what I think. These are my ideas. I feel like they're true personally. Take them or leave them, and I've tried to carry that philosophy all throughout my work. But I can feel in my life that God has helped me in many ways get to where I am. And I've kind of always said this. It's like, it used to be a catchphrase of mine growing up. It's kind of like, it's for some reason, no matter what I do, I always end up falling ass backwards into a pot of gold. I don't mean I always make money. I mean, I stumble backwards and fall, and everything always works out perfectly no matter what, and I fumble through life making mistakes, and things just don't seem to get worse. They always work out and get better. And with this channel, it doesn't seem to be any different. So I do believe someone's always been looking out for me, whoever that is. And with my research, do I feel like maybe it looks like it was God all along, and it's only in hindsight, after being born again, do you kind of realize the sort of influence that the Holy Spirit has in your journey throughout life. And it's an incredible, humbling experience, and it's culminated into this. And not only did I do the Nephilim clown thing, and now have a book published, and I quite practically I'm in such a privileged position that I can do this full time, and support my family and myself doing this, which is incredible and very rare. And I'm not at all blind to that fact, and this is going to go on for as long as it goes on. And I'm not at all naive that this is like insane, that this is even a thing, like that I can do this and make a living. It's ridiculous. But then obviously we've ended up talking about the millennial kingdom. So thank you for everybody who joined the channel. It's a lot of you, because of that particular topic and the podcast circuit I was doing, talking about that topic over the past year and a half. I don't feel like I'm the most qualified to talk about such a thing. I don't feel like I'm not a pastor, or an ordained preacher of any kind. I wouldn't say I'm like a biblical expert. I know a lot about a lot of things, and I have some ideas, and I talk too much. But the feedback I have gotten over the past year has been incredible. Like, what people have been telling me is, that I'm doing a good job, and I don't take compliments easily, but I'll say to those people who have said that to me, thank you. I hear you, and I appreciate the support. I'm not looking to be a leader in anything. I'm not looking to be a figurehead for anything in this. Again, I'm just some idiot who doesn't know when to stop talking. And as you can tell, I'm still talking about the topic, but I am also realizing as the channel's gone on and I'm reaching a level where I'm getting more attention than I used to get, I do have to be careful about some of the things I say more often than not, because there are people who are out there who do want to tear me down and twist anything I do and say into something negative or terrible, watching my every move. And it's not like I'm scared of them necessarily, but it's also makes me reevaluate. It's kind of like, well, what do I want to be? What do I want to talk about? And, it's kind of, I remembered my roots. It's kind of, I am a channel dedicated to understanding all conspiracy theories, the whole conspiracy, every idea, and trying to contextualize it, but also trying to bring communities together within the culture who are at odds with each other. And that's kind of what I want to go back to doing. And now I personally have my own beliefs. I believe Jesus Christ is the truth. I think we're in the little season personally, and I want to bring anybody who's in the truth of culture to the end stage realizations as fast as possible. But I also empathize that they all have a journey they have to go on, and maybe they have to believe some crazy things that are obviously nonsense first before they get to these conclusions. And that's fine, because I had to go through the same journey too. And I think a voice in the wilderness kind of telling people that there is a journey to start if you're going to go through this process. And I think my tips for truthers, which is again a remake of an old series which I'm doing recently, is bringing that message to a broader audience now, which is great. And we have these truth therapy sessions to do just that as well. So I'm not saying I'm going to stop talking about the millennial kingdom, but it's not going to be like my channel's sole topic that I'm only ever going to cover over and over again. But it is something I have been doing for the past year, and I think I lost focus of what my channel is, But I'm not doing a 180. No, I'm not doing pulling a Jaren, as someone said to me. Like I still believe, and then I'll talk about it when everyone brings it up, or if people ask me about it. I just talked about it with Sam Tripoli on his podcast, and that's available on my Patreon currently. He'll be releasing that to the public very soon, I assume. No, I think he already has released it, actually. So you can go to Sam Tripoli's Tinfoil Hat podcast and listen to my recent talk about the little season with him. But I've also been, for some reason, the Nephilim clown topic has revived interest, and I've been getting people asking me to talk about that again a lot. So I've kind of had to dip my toe back into the podcast circuit of talking about the Nephilim clowns, which is, wow, it's been like over a year. I was kind of rusty a little bit, but I very quickly got back into the swing of it. That's what happens when you write a book about something. The knowledge tends to get ingrained into your brain, But it was definitely a breath of fresh air actually to go back to that topic, and I'm excited to go further with it as I'm writing the second book and as I'm currently recording the audio, which is typical. I lose my voice when I'm in the middle of recording an audiobook. That's just sod's law, isn't it? That's exactly the way things go. So let me just quickly check this. I got a couple of super chats there. I don't want to miss them. I'm sorry if anyone's asked any questions. So we got Average Fusion Enjoyer. Hello there, Paul. Hope you get well soon. Just felt like giving you a little bit to show appreciation. Cheers from South California. Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Your content and personality speak for themselves, Paul. People are hungrier than ever for a good person to present these esoteric ideas. So thank you. Says, hey, I'm going to play some games. Thanks for your support. And again, I hope you go enjoy that talk I did with Pete from a Creepy Little Book. That was the person who asked me for the links. And congrats on 90k subs, says Virtual Reality Witness. But thank you again, guys, for the support. It means the world to me. I know it doesn't seem like much, and sometimes it gets lost in translation, but it's thanks to people like you who turn up every week to do this that keeps me going. Like I wouldn't bother if people didn't listen, it would. It's hard, is what I'm trying to say. There's you guys probably don't see it. But there's a weight to this, you know. There's a burden that comes with this sometimes. There's a constant attack. There's always something around the corner, and when you have a period of calm and you think everything's going great, something always happens which just knocks me and my family back, and causes problems and anxieties and issues, and it's a roller coaster, you know. But then for all that drama, you know, I get a message from somebody telling me that I've helped bring them to Christ, or, you know, my talks on the Nephilim clowns have really helped them understand their own spiritual experiences, and it kind of makes it all worthwhile, you know. And I might not always respond because, again, I get a lot of emails and messages, and I'm just busy. I'm just distracted with life in between doing this, but I do read the messages, and they mean everything to me. And it's easy to focus on the bad. That's just kind of how our brains are wired, but I do try and make a conscious habit to remember the good and focus on the good that people do say and offer and support. So again, thank you for that. So what I wanted to do today, I wanted to get you guys to ask me some questions. We can have a bit of a conversation and a back and forth. This is really an open dialogue between me and you today. And I did put out a call for questions on a post, but I don't think anyone saw it. It got like 8 likes or something like that, and like 1 comment. But there was a question on there I do want to bring up and discuss first. I thought it was a good one, and let me just quickly find out my phone here. And it's from Mike Jones, and he asks, why do you think they are coming out and telling us that they have secret time/space travel now? Notice they include space. They're making a big deal of it, and this news comes right after the pyramid, and not long after the mysterious orbs. Congrats on 90k. Well, first of all, thank you for the congratulations, Mike. And yeah, it's an interesting point, isn't it? I actually saw this in my Telegram group the other day, or yesterday, or maybe this morning. I can't even remember, and I think MK Ryan was saying something like, I'm sorry, what? Like, what's going on now? Like, now they can time travel or something like that. And I kind of got a glimpse of the topic heading, but didn't actually look into it until you brought it up today. So I did go and check where the source of this comes from. And it does seem like there was a legitimate presentation from somebody discussing the future of American technology at a convention on behalf of the government, discussing something that sounds like they may have mastered some kind of technology that makes them capable of manipulating space-time. I would say if it sounds so crazy, but that's literally what this guy said, and I've got it right here for you. So I'm going to play you the clip where this source comes from. It's only 33 seconds. I don't think I should get some kind of copyright. I think this is fair use, you know, more than anything. But it was here on the Daily Mail, and if I press play.
The regime of the 1970s became an ever-tightening ratchet, first hampering America's ability to become a net energy exporter, and then making it harder and harder to build. We seem to have lost focus and vision, to have lowered our sights and let systems and structures and bureaucracies muddle us along. But we are capable of so much more. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated, cause things to grow and improve productivity.
So there you go. You know, we have technologies. We are capable of so much more.
Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space.
There you go, making distance.
They leave distance
annihilated. So, I mean, that's an interesting choice of words. Naturally, it's explained away. So, first of all, this was Kratsios made the bold statement on Monday during the Endless Frontiers Retreat, a scientific conference in Texas focused on promoting U.S. technological innovations to maintain global competitiveness. And this is basically saying, no, they cannot travel through space-time. There's no evidence they have time travel. They're likely being hyperbolic towards breakthroughs in AI and quantum computing. And that's they explained away, I think. It doesn't sound like he's saying that. It really does sound like he's talking about time travel, the ability to manipulate space and time in some ridiculous way, you know. And at the end here, it does say they propose creating a warp bubble around a spaceship using a shell of regular matter, like dense particles or dark matter, to compress space-time in front of the ship and expand it behind. This bubble would let the ship travel faster than light without breaking the laws of physics, and crucially, it does not need exotic negative energy that past theories required. And this is from researchers at the University of Alabama at Applied Physics Laboratories, saying warp speed could be possible by bending the rules of physics using Einstein's theory. So whatever, blah, 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 right? Whatever. Nonsense. But yeah, there's the source of that idea that they can warp space and time, and we don't know what technologies any government has. I remember the old adage back in the day for conspiracy researchers, but it was well understood that whatever they present to the public, they're at least 20 years ahead of that behind the scenes. And what they roll out to the public is a massively outdated version of what they actually have, like drastically outdated. And who knows what's going to start to drip out. But even then, just thinking about what AI is capable of and the advancements in robotics as well to go hand in hand with AI, the push towards transhumanism, the idea of making a godlike entity from transhumanism which can hold consciousness, so the elites can live forever in these new host bodies that can house consciousness, the singularity push through people like Ray Kurzweil, who's getting along a bit now. That guy's going to die very soon, and he is desperate to make sure that doesn't happen. The guy's going to do anything he can to get his consciousness into a robot, and he's really pushing to get it done. Because he's terrified. He's terrified of the concept of it, of dying. He thinks it's a heinous problem that needs to be solved. And who knows what they're going to be able to do behind the scenes. I mean, I feel like again, what we do see is really just the outdated leftovers. To compare, like. Just to do an analogy, like we're playing with floppy disks compared to their latest M4 chip MacBook Pros. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to make a vast difference in there and where we are in terms of like capabilities of technology, it's just it seems like the modus operandi is they put on a show for us, don't they? And make it seem like the technology advancements are organic when they're likely just not at all. It's just they're creating a narrative to roll out the technology so it's believable and fits within the agenda. So when people are saying stuff like this, I do think they're messing with people a little bit. There's a little bit in that article about mocking conspiracy theorists have gone wild after this statement. They always have to throw that in there as a bit of a jab towards our community, like we're just a bunch of nut jobs out there who would just jump on any opportunity to make ourselves seem crazy, and it's like, oh, those silly, crazy conspiracy theorists. It's obvious he was just being hyperbolic about AI and quantum computing. It's that kind of smarmy attitude they throw towards us in these articles. But the reality is we have every reason to be paranoid and not trust these people. They've given zero reason to trust them at their word, ever. Like, everything they do just proves that we shouldn't trust them at all. Their actions speak way louder than their words. It's just everybody's too quick to forget what their actions actually were, because they're too distracted with their own lives and their own miseries and the fact they have to get up for work every day and pay the bills and keep themselves fed and keep a roof over their heads and sports ball and whatever other Roman bread and circus nonsense is paraded out in front of them that they think is more important than the people who are trying to control them. Anyway, there's my little take on that question. I hope that helps. Yeah, there you go. Let me just check the chat here. I've got a super chat from, hey, I'm going to play some games. Ben Rich, former head of Lockheed Skunk Works, said back in the 90s to a small group of journalists that we have the tech to take ET home. Anything you can think, we can already do. Exactly. There you go, Ben Rich. Yeah, Ben Rich, there you go. They do say these, they drop us hints all the time. The people in the know who are in the know, they're in the know. That's how it goes. Let me just check here. Another guy came out and said we can travel from any place on Earth to anywhere else in an hour. That's from Mike Jones again. Maybe. I don't actually know if that's true. I think they could say a lot of things. But the thing is, when you see like UFO phenomena, for example, and they seem like quite physical craft made of metal, that kind of, not just like light orbs, but where we have seen physical metal, silverish craft of some kind in the past. It seems like the speeds these things can travel are incomprehensible. It's like a flash, So I do think, practically speaking, You know, if it only takes them 5 minutes to get from here to Japan, let's say, which is normally a 19-hour flight by conventional means, then yes, you know, they've practically mastered space or time or space travel, you know what I mean, in like seconds. It may have only taken 20 minutes, but still, it's a flash in the pan compared to the normal 19-hour flight. So I do think perhaps they do have travel capabilities that are just so fast, it's incomprehensible. And every time they do use them, a new UFO sighting phenomena is begun. You know, so maybe they stopped using them so publicly because people keep freaking out and noticing them too much, and they realize, oh, for all this technology we have, we can't even use it because the people keep noticing it. So maybe that's the kind of the sad trap that they're actually in. You know, I don't know. Have you looked into the missing population theory? Your thoughts, says Madpax. Well, what theory exactly? Because there's loads of examples of missing people. Like, I didn't know there's a missing population theory. Do you mean people who go missing on a regular basis for many nefarious means? Or are you talking about the idea that the numbers they tell us about our population aren't actually real? They're inflated. They're artificially inflated, and we actually have a much smaller population on the Earth than we've been told. It's not like the 9 billion we're supposedly near or over now. I can't remember where they say we are, but we're more likely maybe 3 billion or something like that. Is that what you mean, Madpax? Is that what you're actually saying there? Just let me know. Because I don't want to start talking about the wrong thing. You know, there's two different ideas there, two different concepts, isn't there? Excuse me while I have a quick drink, guys. Okay, apologies for that. I have to do it, you know, sore throat, hard to talk. Number 2. The population is much smaller. I tend to agree. I think our population is nowhere near as large as they tell us. I think it's all lies to justify the means. That the carbon taxes, the 15-minute city agendas coming as well, the driving people off land. You know, the idea of you must eat the bugs, you know, and have nothing and be happy. The push towards socialist agendas and ideologies as well. I think the whole idea is that it's a necessity because we're overcrowded, and it's just a brainwashing tool to get most people to go along with really crappy agendas, you know, that take everything away from us and our freedoms and our rights. And it's kind of, you must only have one child or that type of thing. You know, I think someone showed me a Captain Planet episode where it's literally about, if you must have kids, keep it to one. It's kind of these really ridiculous statements. It's like depopulation agendas in children cartoons. Like, oh, are we joking? You know, but no, we're not. Right? They've been pushing this on us for a while, because they want to. I think they want to keep us small in number, but they also want to justify the actions they're making. And to justify it, there has to be a problem of carbon in the atmosphere and the rest of it, you know, and there has to be things producing it. So it must be humans, right? Because there's too many of us, and we're overcrowded as well. They make the cities look ridiculously overcrowded, don't they? And it's kind of, the rural areas are actually empty, you know. I think someone actually did the math, even based on like the actual amount of people we have on the Earth. Supposedly, the official numbers. Say we got those 8 billion people. And we each gave, I think it's something silly like we actually gave each one of them like a decent plot of land, enough to build a house and have a garden. You know what I mean? Something like that. And we put them all next to each other, rows by rows, in a squared position, you know, and just lay them all in a square position, all next to each other, one by one, all 8 billion of them. They still wouldn't fill like a quarter of Texas. Something like that. I think that's what the math was. Someone did that, like, and they put it all together. It's kind of like, there is not a problem of space on the Earth. We have more than enough space. It's a lie. Overpopulation, overcrowding. It's just a bold-faced fiction. It's gibberish. They have literally just made it up. And even then, next to that, it's kind of, we actually primarily live around the coastal areas of places. and not really inland of many of these land masses we have as well, like in Australia, or you got the Amazon rainforest is pretty much not populated at all as well. It's kind of, there are actually a vast swaths of land all over the earth where we could fit plenty of people, if we were to terraform and change and the rest of it. But it's kind of, we're not interested in doing that. They're interested in corralling people into smaller, more controllable, centralized cities instead, where they can keep a close eye on people and get them involved in their social credit systems that are coming in the future and the rest of it. So again, I think the lie of the big population is just to get the agenda going and to justify the means. Do you get what I'm saying? And the truth is, we're actually probably very few in number. There actually aren't that many of us at all, and there is no necessity to tax and corral and quell and the rest of it, and the rest of it, and cull, shall we say. But you have to remember as well, these people are basically in a death cult who rule us, a Luciferian death cult. It was said on the Georgian guidestones, maintain the population under 500 million, which would be a drastic decrease from 9 billion. And you have to wonder, how are they actually going to pull that off? I think we're birthing more people than they can kill, basically, at those rates. They've got no chance, realistically, no matter what they try and do. And people have speculated, maybe the poison that was put into people not that long ago is going to cause a mass extinction event in the future. They'll just get triggered and we'll have no idea, and it'll just seem natural, but there was a root cause. And if you look at the numbers of the people who did partake in those things, they're about right, to get us down to that 500 million. If all those people do suddenly just, and I'm not willing that on people, that would be a horrible moment. I have friends and family who would, I perish the thought, let's pray that is not the case and ask for mercy from the Father to prevent such a horrible thing from happening. But it's kind of, people have gone down those kind of thought processes, haven't they, to kind of figure out how they would get to such a number as 500 million. But what if they don't have to actually get rid of that many people to begin with? But there's only 2 billion people around anyway. And what if it isn't as inflated as they've made it out to be? We really don't know from our perspective, because who's going to do a head count? Who have we got to do an official head count on this? But it won't, and even then, someone getting back to the alternative history, someone like Anatoly Fomenko, a mathematician who did the population sums, even he's saying, well, based off the history we have, our numbers should be way higher than what they even are officially speaking. It's kind of, even taking into account all the famines, the wars, the pestilences, the destructions, and all the destructive events and everything else, it's kind of, humanity should not be at when he made his theory 7 billion. It should be closer to 15 billion, but it's not. So he's saying it hasn't been even that much time. So that's how he removes 1,000 years worth of history, because it's the only way to make sense of the population numbers we have. But if those population numbers we have are also complete just bollocks, made up, how much even less time have we actually been around to populate and propagate and grow as peoples? Really, it's a head scratcher when you actually get into it, and this is why we should always be in the position of, there's just some things we're not actually going to be able to know, and maybe that's okay. But it's always handy to at least have thought it out, like we just did now. So we're not naive to the idea or the concept, and we can factor it into things when we are making ideas about, let's say, the timeline, So there you go. I hope that is a satisfactory answer. They're my thoughts initially on the population theory, Is that good enough? Are we happy with that? Let me know. Thank you, brother. We love you. Continue your prayers for you and your beautiful family, says Madpax. Thank you, Madpax. I appreciate it. Drunk Wedding Photographer, thanks for being here. I don't think there's missing population theory, but here in LA, the population thins out every 10 years. First noticed in 2005, then 2015, and now 2025. Interesting. What do you think that's about when you say thinned out? Do you think they are being, are dying, or are they migrating? Are they moving? Drunk Wedding Photographer, what do you think? Let me know. Do you have any thoughts on whether there will be borders for much longer? We have some lovely German friends who are being deported from Australia they're trying to become Australian citizens. Oh, that's a shame. Do you think there'll be borders for much longer? I mean, I think in the ideal New World Order scenario that they're trying to create, which is the globalist agenda, if we're going to get all Alex Jones about it, it's the globalists. I mean, they are going for that hyper one language, one currency, one leader, one world without borders type of reality, highly centralized, condensed power to a very select few all over the whole earth. There's going to be a lot of wars and struggles and battles who gets to dominate that kind of thing before that even happens. I mean, I think they would love for that to be the case, but I think you can only fool some of the people some of the time, not all the people all the time, okay? And I think they're going to really struggle to let a lot of people drop their borders, convince them to do that. Even if they do put sanctions, and there's some countries in this world where it's like, no matter how many sanctions you put on them or how many times you invade them or wars or whatever, the people are just going to go, no, screw you. We're not getting rid of our country. We love our flag. We love our peoples. We love our heritage, our history, and our culture. Those people are always going to exist. It's going to be a serious struggle and there's many of those types of countries all over the earth, and I just don't see it happening. That's their utopic vision, isn't it, though? I think in the short season, I think the only way that would even come close to happening is if the alien agenda does get played out on us. That makes us all drop our differences and come together as one to unite against a common enemy type of stuff. And I think that's a legitimate agenda they're going to try and play out in some way. But I think when they do play it out, it won't be as corny as I've just described. It'll be a lot more psychedelic and tangible. I think it'll come during a time where maybe a lot of people are suddenly just tripping balls seeing the DMT realm suddenly for no reason. And that comes with some real mind-bending perspectives and changes for humanity when they start seeing the spirit realm and that veil lifts, And I think it's going to be more like an interdimensional, trippy, personal situation for every individual on Earth when it happens, which is going to make them reshift all their paradigms and thought processes about how to navigate the world. And that might come with the dropping of borders, because it depends what ideology was sold to them when these visions start happening and they start seeing the spirit reality. Because if they've been sold the ideology predominantly through the culture that we are all God, who has collectively forgotten that we are God, and we're all one consciousness hive mind, living out separate lives in vessels, pretending we're not God, the very, very Hindu type worldview or Buddhist type worldview of consciousness. It's kind of, maybe that would be a way to get people to think, well, we're all God anyway, so let's just drop these silly borders, these petty things. Now we can finally understand that perspective and see it from that way. But at the same time, that's not the reality of the situation. I think the truth of the situation is there is a God separate from us, and he will not be mocked. And I think it's going to be a very weird time in the future. I don't know how it's going to play out. I really have no idea. And I've never said I know how this is going to play out. I've heard the agendas, and we can play out scenarios in our minds as best we can, so we're prepared for whatever eventuality does come, because they're going to do something. They're going to do something, that's for sure. They've pumped way too much money into the programming to just blow it all and not do it now. They're working on something, I can tell you that. I saw that thing how everyone would fit in a small section of Texas. I forgot the guy's name. I think he's a little too much on the arrogant side for my taste, but I didn't see that video. I'm not sure where I heard that. I heard that years ago, like a long time ago. I heard the Texas thing. Maybe I'm going to have to look into that and corroborate whether that's true. I think it sounds like it would be true, doesn't it? Texas is enormous. It's huge. America's huge. Anyway, moving on. Let me just take this earpiece out. It's hurting my ears. Let's have a look here. There's a movie that shows that phones ring and they die. I actually made a video about that. I'll show you, actually. I did this. And give me a second. So it's actually on Patreon, because that's the only place I can put it. Without getting a strike. But I did. You're talking about the film, aren't you? I think it's called Cell. I basically talked about that movie in context with the things we were just discussing, and I got a strike. And I had to do like a course, a camp course, you know, about the correct opinions to have about the narrative. And tick box that I agree and understand what the official narrative actually is and what the World Health Organization has to say about these things. And then they took my copyright. Well, it wasn't, sorry, they took my strike away from me 3 months later because I did this thing. But yeah, I had to get rid of it. But I'll show you this as evidence. I have talked about that topic, and it was a long time ago, so I've got to kind of load up a few things here to get to it. But I had to just resort again to putting it onto Patreon. I kind of had no choice, unfortunately. Where is it? Whoa, it must have been a long time ago. Well, it would have been. It would have been a year ago in October when I brought it up for the first time. That's true, actually. Yeah. I think I'm getting back close to it now. Late night rants there. Going back to Nephilim clown territory here. Let me just keep going. Talking to Donuts, Subconscious Realms. There's with George Hobbs. Talking to Vicky Joy Anderson. Demon Erasers. We've got quite a lot of people here. I'll quickly just share the screen with you so you can see what I'm seeing. This is my Patreon. And yeah, it's loading now. So yeah, there was a video a long time ago. Heidi Hollis. I had to remove this one because, sheesh, that interview went sideways. I'm not going to lie. I got rid of that. That was ridiculous. Gary Wayne's interview, some AI images, my old Tips for Truthers series. There it is. So this is what I made a video about. You can see on the screen there the things I was talking about. And yeah, instantly banned on YouTube with a strike. So here it is for my patrons. And that was September the 16th, 2023. So if you remember, you can go back and look at that one if you want. I've already had my commentary, but I am not allowed to, I'm not allowed to talk about it. It's simple. And that's just my answer. I'm not allowed to talk about it. Okay. There's very little else I can say to you about that topic other than I cannot talk about it. That's it. I am officially censored on this platform. There are other platforms where I can. So there you go. California alone is the size of Japan. You can fit 8 major cities in Los Angeles and still have space left over, says Strong Wedding Photographer. Absolutely, yeah. America is enormous. Like, it's a huge span of land. Like, it's ridiculous how huge it is. I heard with Klaus Schwab stepping down, we have 2 billion people left. I don't know where you've heard that, Valerie, but fair enough. Milton the Monster aired October the 9th, 1965, same day as Hurricane Milton hit Florida. Again, I wouldn't know about that. Truth Unfiltered, good to see you. Thanks for being here. We got Misha here as well. Alaska would be overpopulated if we were all in Alaska. Yeah, but still, that's not the point, is it? Ryan Gosling is set to direct Attack of 3 Clowns from Space remake. Attack of the Killer Clowns from Space remake for 80s. Yeah, I heard someone say that there's going to be a reboot of Killer Clowns from Outer Space or something like that. I'm going to have to make a video about that when that happens, aren't I? Absolutely. Is it available on other platforms? No, I just put it on Patreon. Yeah, like 2 years. I didn't have any other platforms 2 years ago. It's just there, and I forgot about it, and I don't even have a copy of it anymore. I don't think I can even download them off of Patreon. I don't think it works like that. So if you want to see it, it's just deep within that, you know. But yeah, absolutely instant strike. Cannot talk about it. So I'm just being honest with you guys. Cannot do it. I wish I could, but I can't. I just can't talk about it. I will lose everything. I will just lose everything. You just take it all the way like that. And that's how you know what the real situation is, you know, the things you can't talk about. But again, you've got to find out you can't talk about it by getting the strike first. So it's a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? You've got to put yourself out there and risk it and just see if you get away with it or not. You know, and it's a precarious, like, roller coaster of blood pressure ride being on YouTube. It really is. Like, I had this phenomena when I first started. Really getting into YouTube in the past few years, where I was posting every other day and doing 2 live shows a week, which I do now regularly. But when I started doing that, YouTube had this habit of instantly demonetizing my video, my live stream after it ends. And what I would do is I would put in a manual appeal, and the next day, about midday, or maybe like 17 to 18 hours after the appeal and the video's over, they'd allow it to be monetized. Say, after a manual review, we found this actually is eligible for monetization, so it's fine. But by that point, it's already had like 4,000 views, and any money I would have earned is gone. I'm not earning that money anymore. It doesn't matter, you know. They would have ran ads on the video as well, you know, but I wouldn't have got anything for it. And they kept doing that to every single live show. And as soon as it ended, they demonetized it. As soon as it ended, they kept doing it and doing it over and over and over again. And I kept fighting every single one, and every single one got monetized again the next day. So it never should have been demonetized to begin with. It's just the AI algorithm was programmed to do it to me. Clearly, like someone had it out for me at some point. And lately it's stopped. I think I've got enough videos now. They're all in the green, because I've got to go back and make sure any videos that randomly turn orange or red, I just delete or demonetize. So there's never a mark on my record. And because I have such a 100% approval rate of my videos because of that, I think the algorithm now thinks I'm safe no matter what I do. And it's very rare now that happens to me. But they do start doing that. It's really sneaky. Really nasty games, you know, like YouTube will play with you. I think all it takes is like one person in the office there to find you and not like you, and just put a bug in the system towards your channel, you know, and that's it. Like, you're screwed. You're just done. You have been on my brain lately. Prayers with you, my brother Rev, says Mad Pax, the truth unfiltered. Yeah, he's yeah. I can't remember who came up with the phrase. I was recently talking to David Rodriguez on Nino's Corner podcast. And if you remember, I was on his podcast talking about the Millennial Kingdom, maybe like a week or 2 ago now, or something like that. Anyway, we got talking, and I said, do you want me to do the Nephilim clown presentation for you? He was like, yeah, let's do it, you know. So we got that booked in, and I did that yesterday. I did the Nephilim look like clowns with him, and I blew his mind. It's quite clear as day at the end of it. He was like, oh, wow, that was crazy, you know. Like, what was that? Like, I did not expect that. That's off air, by the way. I can prove it on video that he did do that, but that did happen. Actually, I will. I'm going to prove to you for what. I don't just make stuff up. Let me just show you his reaction right at the end of our talk. I'm going to have to mute that quickly. I'm going to show you exactly what he said after we finished talking.
But this one was, this is longer, but this
hang on, I'm going to put my headphones in first. Let me just listen. Let me listen.
was, wow, a wealth of information, very intriguing, and I believe it 100%. It's, I mean, you showed the evidence, you showed the proof, you showed the data, you showed your research. I can't argue with it, man. So, and I don't think you're gonna have many people arguing with this one. So, Paul, man, thank you so much, folks. Yeah, the what's the name? Understanding Conspiracy.
That's the YouTube,
everywhere.
yeah.
It's Instagram, it's YouTube.
Yeah.
I'll put your YouTube link.
Look for this.
Look for that. There you go. Understanding Conspiracy, man. You do a lot of solid work, man.
Thanks.
So, Paul, I'd love to have you on again at some point. Thank you for joining me.
No, thank you, David. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. If people want to find me, Understanding Conspiracy, you want the book, just go on to Amazon. You can't miss it. And yeah, hopefully I'll catch you over my channel. And again, God bless.
You got it. Thank you so much, Paul. God bless you.
So the
recording stopped.
Wow, dude, that was mind blowing. Mind blowing, bro. Fuck, that's crazy, dude. But a lot of people have to watch this. They're gonna have to this is very educational. So I'm gonna get a thumbnail made for this. I'll have it up probably.
So there you go. Yeah, he was impressed. He enjoyed it, and it was good to talk about the clowns for once. But at the end of it, he was like, I don't normally stay for like an hour and a half, but that had me. Like, I had him, you know. So it's good fun. It's good fun. And again, it's something about talking about that topic is kind of like, because it's my baby. I formulated everything about it, like, and it's kind of my work. My everything about it is mine, you know, in a sense. Like, I know I don't own the truth necessarily, but it's like I know that topic inside and out. You know, there's not one part that I don't feel confident about talking on. It feels good to talk about. And when I do the shows about, like, you know, the millennial reign of Christ, I know there's so much I could be wrong there that we don't know yet, and that we're still figuring out. That I had to do every single podcast like praying beforehand, like, God, just give me the words to say, you know. And I went into every single like podcast blind with no prep. And just letting the Holy Spirit do the work. And I never left any of those podcasts thinking I did a good job. I always left those podcasts talking about the millennial reign feeling like I didn't say this. I should have talked about that. I don't think they liked it when I'd mentioned this topic. And it's kind of, because I was winging it, because I don't feel as confident about that topic as I did about the clowns. You know what I mean? It's kind of, but I knew it was important, and I kind of need to talk about this and get this idea out, and people need to hear this, because there's so much lies going on right now, and it's kind of, we're in the little season. It's very important people know that we're in the little season. It's kind of like, who am I to be telling people this? I'm just some YouTuber, you know what I mean? So it was a bit of a stress, but when I've talked about the clowns, I felt good. You know, it's like, okay, I'm confident about this. I know this. And I have an answer for any question, you know. But there was some questions that people asked me when it came to the Millennial Kingdom stuff, and it's kind of like, I don't have an answer. We have guesses, and these are the best guesses I can give you, and I reel them out, you know. But that's not good enough in some cases, you know, because I'm trying to win souls here for Christ and get them into the right timeline mentally, and let them see that there are other eschatological ideas and worldviews other than the futurist dispensationalist nonsense we've been preached over the past 200 years, and it's kind of, it's a struggle, you know. It's different. It's a different feeling when I do those type of podcasts. Again, with practice, I suppose I was getting better, but you know what I mean. That was a tangent, but yeah, that Nephilim clown thing, I think that's coming out tonight on Nino's channel. So it's on my Patreon if you're already a member, but I think he's releasing that publicly on his channel today. I think he said he wants to get it out for Easter, which is today. And but maybe he won't. We'll see. But if you are a member of Patreon, you can go listen to that already. But yeah, he enjoyed it. He was not expecting it. I did a proper presentation with pictures and everything, and I think he realized there's way more here than I thought there was going to be, which is usually the usual reaction to the Nephilim clown stuff. I'm not going to lie, because I know what it sounds like. When will part 2 on Nino be on? Says Chiro Sounds. Well, like I said, the part 2 was me talking about the clowns with him. I'm not doing the Millennial Kingdom with him again. And like I said, that's on Patreon right now. But I think he's releasing his version today, and I'll release our talk on YouTube maybe in a week or two after he's had his views and everything. You know, it's kind of basic YouTube etiquette. To not release my version the same time they release theirs, because they're the ones who want to release it, get the views, get the publicity, promotion, all that sort of stuff. And then 2 weeks later, when it's not getting any views anymore, I can release my copy on my channel. Do you know what I mean? It's just basic etiquette. If you don't do that, it's basically called a dick move. Right? So I'm not going to do that, you know. But I'll release it in a couple of weeks on my own channel, that's for sure. Let's have a look here. So glad you're able to speak with more podcasts on these topics, Paul. Understanding conspiracy. Yeah. Like I say, I'm always being asked to go on people's podcasts. I'll probably be doing less Millennial Kingdom podcasting, because I don't know what else I can say that I haven't already said in these other podcasters. I'm thinking my body of work is there. It stands for itself. And again, it brings with it a level of anxiety and pressure to my personal life that you guys just don't see, which I just don't feel like is what I want for me and my family, you know. But I'm not denouncing it, and I'll still talk about it, but I don't want to be positioned into a place where I'm considered like a leader of a movement. I mean, it's the leaders who always get the flack and get hurt. You know what I mean? It's not a position I'm willing to put me and my family into over something like this. because we're talking about really powerful concepts here about people's worldviews and religions, you know, and you know what people get like over religion at the end of the day. But the clown stuff, I do need to finish this body of work. You know, the book's great. I've got a box here of stacks of books. Like, so if you want a signed copy, email me. I've got loads of paperbacks. I've got hardcovers as well. I can mail them out to you. Just email me understandingconspiracy@gmail.com. I'm considering, I think I might run an Easter offer. I'm selling them. This is in British currency. It's £60 for a hardcover, and that covers the cost of the print of the book, the signature, the packaging, and the mail costs to anywhere in the world. So after all of that, I don't make £60. Okay, I have to tell you that now. And if you buy it off Amazon, I only make £10 per book sold on Amazon. So I earn more by doing it manually when you buy a signed copy from me. So there's that. But I usually do a hardcover for £60 and a paperback for £50. But I'm going to run an offer, and I'll do the hardcover for £50 and the paperback for £40 instead. So if you're interested, that offer I will run till the end of April. So 10 more days. If you want to get yourself a copy at a discount, just a special offer because, you know, in the name of Jesus, why not? You know, we might as well celebrate in some way. And I've got this big box I want to get out of the office as well, so I need to ship them. So if you guys want a signed copy of Volume 1, email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com, and I will do it £10 cheaper than I normally would. So £40 for the paperback, £50 for the hardcover. That's £10 off each book. So there we go. There's a little side offer. But again, I want to finish this body of work. I want to write Volume 2, get that boxed off, and get that published, get it out there. So it's done. It's kind of done, and I can focus on other things afterwards. I got a bit sidetracked, you know, and I realized I still have work to be done. People I'm beholden to, the people who donated initially on the GoFundMe as well, who, you know, I want to get that finished for them at the end of the day. And I'm also doing the audiobook as well for this volume, and there'll be an audiobook for the second one as well. And like I said, there's a lot of work to do there, which I need to spend a good solid 2 years on to get it all fully just done and dusted, and I can leave it behind. And that's going to keep me busy. That is going to keep me busy. And I think my first love is spiritual warfare, which is what this book is about. And I've been told this work has helped brought many people out of the New Age and to Christ. So it's not something I'm going to turn my nose up at. It's still important as far as I'm concerned, and it's something for me I feel confident speaking on, and I think I can help bring people out of this psychedelic New Age trap they've fallen into and get them to understand why it's relevant to see the Christian perspective on all of this. And that body of work does that. So I'm not done. I don't think God's done with that. I'm not done with that. And I do want to get that finished. So that's just my own personal thoughts on all this situation, you know. Anyone who gets over 50k views these days is questionable, says Vaughn. Well, not really. Like, I've had videos that have just randomly gone viral for reasons I cannot understand. Like, I average maybe something like, these days, it didn't used to be, but something maybe between 2,000 and 6,000 views per video. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. It depends on the popularity of the topic, whether it's topical or whether it's just one of my for instance, my tips for truthers doesn't get many views, about 2,000 views. But if I release a Millennial Kingdom video, I'll get about 10,000 for some reason, because that's what my subscribers came for. If I release a Nephilim Clown video, it's a bit less, about 6,000 to 7,000, something like that. But then randomly, for no reason, a month after publishing the video, one of my videos will just suddenly skyrocket and get sent everywhere. And I will have nothing to do with that. And I have videos that have 500,000 views on there, and I did nothing to make that happen. But what, does that suddenly make me a questionable shill all of a sudden because the AI algorithm decided to push a random video out for reasons I just don't understand? My Parasite video about demons being parasites, I think that's over 500,000 now. And that was just a throwaway video where I cut a random hour clip from a 3-hour live show and just chucked it out because I needed a video and I had nothing. So I just quickly threw out a clip from a podcast I did 2 months earlier. It went viral. It was completely arbitrary. Could not have predicted it. Like, it's I think people need to realize on YouTube, it's dumb luck and randomness that make people grow and get subscribers. It really is. At our level, when you're in this world, you're just literally a slave to random arbitrary algorithmic choices that you have no decision power over. Like the videos I spent hours on get nothing. The videos I randomly just don't put any effort into whatsoever and chuck out randomly, for some reason get traction. Like, that's how it works, and that's really disheartening. It's actually a really horrible feeling when something you put your heart and soul into gets no attention, and something you just didn't care about suddenly gets all the attention. That's what you're known for all of a sudden. You know what I mean? It's not a good feeling. It's not what you think, you know. And I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about what it is to be a YouTuber, and we're a paranoid bunch in the conspiracy world, aren't we? So I'm not surprised people have that kind of reaction. I remember when I was a channel with like 1,000 subscribers, I was shill hunting everywhere, thinking every big channel must be shills. And then suddenly when you're there, you're kind of like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not saying there aren't shills out there. Obviously there are. But I realized it's just not that black and white. It's not that simple to point them out. It really isn't. And you've got to look for more nuance. The message, what are they actually saying, that type of stuff. And even then, I would be very hesitant these days to point a finger at somebody and with certainty accuse them of anything now. Because, like I said, it just comes with perspective. I spoke to people which have been supposedly, people tell me, are massive shills. And it's kind of like, well, I talked with them, and the way they behaved and talked and acted, they actually just seemed like just some random dude who's just trying to make YouTube content. Like, I don't like it. Doesn't seem like there actually is any intentional malevolence behind it. They're just looking for guests because they've talked to everybody, and they constantly need new content to keep the algorithm on their side, just like everybody else, type of thing. You know, it's behind the scenes. I realize it's not what I thought it was, but I think there are definitely people out there though who are intentionally out to deceive. But you just can't know that. You cannot know who is who. It could be that actually smaller channels might be the ones out there to cause problems and to deceive and are shilling and to turn people off, people who get big, because they might be, you know what I mean? You don't actually know. You don't actually know which way it works. And as somebody who's constantly been caught up in that type of thing, it's eye-opening, honestly, just how ridiculous all of it actually is when you actually get down to brass tacks. Like my wife said, I had multiple videos get over 5K. It's actually not that hard. Yeah, my wife used to make DIY videos, craft videos, before she met me and knew me. And yeah, she got videos that were in over 500,000 views. You know what I mean? And it just happens. Like, it does happen. And yeah, she's certainly not any malevolent page shill or anything like that. She was just making craft videos. It just depends on algorithmic popularity, I suppose, where attention is currently, clicks that you get as well, and there are things that boost algorithms, and it's a really complicated. I don't understand it fully personally. I think they made it massively complicated. Arbitrary is the word, just random and nonsensical half the time. It truly is. Paul, I remember finding you because I couldn't shake the exploring Tartaria idea out of my head, and I didn't know what her understanding of the biblical timeline was called. KRB, yeah, it was her videos that really got me going on this. She was one of the first people I heard ever talking about this topic, and it rattled me to my bones. I couldn't let it go. I just could not let the concept go. At first, it was like a triviality, something different. It was a novelty, and I just humored it and sat there laughing and thinking about it. Oh, what if that is the case? Isn't that a funny idea? And then as time went on, it's kind of like more and more things kept happening that I was like, maybe she was onto something, and then I rewatched the videos a year or two later, and I was like, no, she's onto something. Like, this is terrifying. Like, I think she might be right. And then this is where I made my first video about the topic after Conspiracy R.Us did his video, and a few others were bringing up the idea again. And I was like, yeah, and I sat on it again, actually, for like another year, I think. And eventually in 2023, I made my own video about this, like 4 years after exploring Tartaria, maybe 2 or 3 years after exploring Tartaria. Just with the idea, like, okay, I've heard this thing, and this is it. This is the idea. And I think that's gone viral now. I think now, over the past 2 years, it's maybe about 500,000 views. Just that one video of me in my car just talking to my phone about this crazy idea I've heard. And it's got to people and it's spread rapidly, and it's really shaken the cage, the gilded cage of modern Christendom, you know what I mean? And the old guard are pissed off because they were the bee's knees. They were everyone's go-to guy for prophetic messages and the end times truth. And now everyone's looking at them with like squinty-eyed skepticism. It's kind of like, have you actually read the book that you're preaching, or do you actually believe what you're saying anymore? It's kind of that time. No one's trusting, and they're scrambling and yeah. Even at the start of that talk I did with David Nino, he actually asked me, like, why did you turn down the offer to do a roundtable? He says, I get guests on my channel who are like prophets, modern day prophets. And they heard you talk on my channel and they wanted to do a roundtable discussion with you. And I said, yeah, and I actually said to him, look, I know what I said probably pissed a lot of people off. And he was laughing. He's like, yeah, they were angry. And I was like, look, they wanted to do a roundtable discussion to tear me down. They weren't interested in actually talking about the ideas, and I knew they weren't. And I used a phrase which I've heard before, and I can't remember, and I'm sorry, guys, if it was Short Season John or if it was the Rev who said this phrase. Correct me in the chat for who actually said this. But the phrase I used to explain to David why I didn't do it is, look, I am a truth seeker. I'm not a belief defender. If people want to know what I believe and my ideas, they can go and find them and make their own conscious choice and decisions of whether or not to take it or leave it. I'm not out there to make a public display battling other people. That's just not what I do. It's not my style. And he said, yeah, fair enough, man. That's cool. And we moved on to the clown topic. But it's kind of, yeah, the modern day prophets who are seeing visions of tribulation coming upon us and are preaching these ideas to people, the visions of God, that the Holy Spirit told me that Donald Trump is definitely the Antichrist, or those type of people, you know what I mean? Or the Holy Spirit is telling me that there will be a great famine coming in the next 3 years. Those type of people, they hate me. They're pissed off. Because what I'm saying is like, you're all full of shit. Like, and pardon my language, I'm sorry to swear. I know I shouldn't swear, but it gets to that point now, it's kind of like, you're all snake oil con men. That's what it comes down to. With the little season being fact, it's kind of, you're all charlatans. And the veil has dropped and you're angry. And it's kind of what, I'm not debating those people. I'll let them flounder and just flail in the corner. I'm just going to let them do that. Not my problem. Not my problem. JT's in the chat. Hi, JT. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Yeah, my throat is killing me. I'm going to take another drink of water, guys. I'm just going to take a quick break so I can just have a drink, give my voice a rest. I'm going to play a song by, as I always do, by Judah Sargent, one of my favorite songs at the moment, which I just love having any opportunity to play whenever I can. So I'm going to play that for you guys now while I just take a quick break. This is Endurance. It's just 5 minutes and I'll be right back and we'll get it straight into it. Okay, so thanks, guys.
I heard him shout, see.
I'm sorry, guys. Right, this keeps happening. When I switch to the video, for some reason, all my audio vanishes. Okay? I am sorry about this. I'm going to fix it right now. So this is not a problem in the future. I'll cut this out of the podcast version so no one hears this mistake and everything. But for you live people right now, technical difficulties, I need to fix this damn thing because it is getting on my nerves. So there's our audio. I'm going to press play again and I'm going to see if this actually works for you guys now. So bear with me. We're all good.
I heard him shout, see, still ashes. I cried steadfast as my blood dripped on out. 40 men swore to but it be in your hands. God, my scars are ready to beg, privilege to trust you. I'll worship and stay at anguish burning in my pleas are that I can under all these stones still combine my hands to fold, to pray. Thank you, Lord. Million years I'd see before I'd ever think this would go down. A second more will keep my knee from above. Yeah. Bowed are my hands beyond bars to chains for you. Temptation sings a sweet song to break free, but I will be home soon. Battered by Euro glide on to get across the sea, and gotta follow my captain in the sky. God, my scars are ready to beg, privilege to trust you. I'll worship and stay at anguish burning in my pleas are that I can under all these stones still combine my hands to God, my scars are ready to beg, privilege to trust you. I'll worship and stay at anguish burning in my pleas are that I can under all these stones still combine my hands to
And we're back. How are we all doing, guys? Judah, Sergeant, Yahweh, and the Vagabond, if you're wondering what that song was. Like I said, he's a subscriber. He's been on the channel. He shared his testimony. I'll show you a screen capture of his It's Spotify. Here it is. That's what it looks like. Endurance was a song you just heard. It's becoming a staple of the show. I really enjoy the song. I don't know what it is. Something about it just speaks to me. I can't help it. But go check out his work if you haven't already, guys. Just look for Yahweh and the Vagabond. Criminally underlistened. I'll say that much. He deserves a lot more. No, it's not ended. Money. I just had a quick break because my voice is cooked. I am messed up. I do have a question here someone brought up about Philetus and Hymenaeus. It's a common question we get in the Little Season community, and it's for a lot of naysayers out there, it's like a ha, got you type of moment. But he does want to know, on 2 Timothy 2 verses 14 through 19, where it says, ignore those who say that the resurrection has already happened, whose words doth eat like a cancer or a canker, such as Hymenaeus and Philetus, who have erred in their teachings, saying the resurrection has already happened and have made people lose their faith. I'm paraphrasing, that's basically what it says, something like that. And then what the futurists tend to do is point to that verse and go, ha, that's you. You're the ones there making people lose their faith by saying the resurrection has already happened. Paul warned us about people like you, with that proper smarmy, like, got you type of smile on the face while they say it, and that smug, talking to a 5-year-old type of attitude they give us. And all I have to say is this is a very easily dealt with. It's not actually a difficult got you moment as much as you think it is. And if you're ever confronted with this question yourself, the answer's very simple. Paul wasn't talking to us 2,000 years later. He was writing a very specific letter to a church in his time. And yes, in that time, Hymenaeus and Philetus were wrong to say the resurrection had already happened, because it hadn't happened yet in that time when Paul wrote that letter to the church. Done. Maybe about 10, 15 years later it did, though. There you go. Answer done. See, the problem is, modern futurist dispensationalist type thinkers think these verses are written to them. They think Paul was speaking directly to them. They don't view it as a history book. They don't view it with audience relevancy. Who was Paul talking to? He was talking to Timothy. He was writing a letter to Timothy, wasn't he? Okay? That's who he was speaking to in that time before the resurrection took place. So yes, Paul was right to rebuke those people then in that time. But since then, tribulation did happen. The first resurrection did happen. The saints were resurrected and ruled with Christ for 1,000 years. The 1,000 years has ended, and we're now in the little season since that time when those words were written. And that's your answer. Audience relevancy. Paul wasn't talking to us. There you go. So again, it's not a got you moment. It's not a difficult answer question. In fact, a lot of the rebuttals we get can be answered quite simply with audience relevancy. And that's it. That's your answer. Okay? It's not hard. So yeah, there we go. But yeah, I'm going to go back in the chat. I watched anti-little season videos today with open ears. It didn't change anything. Says the upset truth. I know, right? There's a lot of them these days, isn't there? There's always a new pastor having to explain to his congregation the little season stuff, because I bet his congregation are coming to him asking him about it because it's spreading like wildfire, isn't it? And the pastors don't know what to do. It's kind of like, well, I've been preaching the seminary's told me to teach this. I don't know what this is, So they do the best to swat it away like an annoying fly, and they use the typical straw manning arguments every time. They don't actually contend with our points and the evidences we have. They just ignore it, and they try and lock their congregation straight back into dispensationalist futurism. Every time. It's the same thing, but there's a lot of those videos coming out now, which is a good sign, I would say. Because it's not about winning over the pastors necessarily, though I wish they all would come to the truth. It's the followers, the congregation we need to reach, because they're the ones that aren't in a position where ego is going to stop them from changing their mind, where monetary gain and value isn't going to stop them from changing their mind. particular positions in a particular church or the fear of excommunication isn't going to change their mind about the truth of the matter. They just want the truth and a true relationship with Christ and to know where we are, you know. But sadly, a lot of these seminary-trained pastors and church leaders have a lot to lose by preaching the little season gospel. It's not even a different gospel. It's just it's a different eschatological viewpoint, you know. But they're not allowed to. They're not allowed to say it. Basically, they're too much to lose. Must be a tricky one for Paul, getting a good bump with Bravo et al. With little season. I understand wanting to diversify and not be a leader. Well, it's not about diversifying. My channel is already diverse. Nothing's actually changed. I'm just gonna continue doing what I've always been doing. I just got a little bit hyper focused on the little season topic for a year because it got me, because I believe it, and I got obsessed with it. I had to understand it thoroughly. But as I did with every movement, I did that with Flat Earth, with Mandela Effect, with Tartaria, with all the big topics. I did that with, you know, especially all the occult symbolism and everyone, the Illuminati music industry stuff, biblical history, the Nephilim, spiritual, all the topics I get obsessed with for like a condensed period of history of time in my life. And then once I've understood it and contextualized it and placed it in the overall image of the conspiracy, I move on. And this is not a new pattern for me. I've always done this. And I've not changed my mind on all those things that I learned in the past. I still believe them. And I still talk about them. And just like I've done with the little season topic, I've understood it now as best I can. And I'm still there watching it grow and a part of the community. But it's not like my main focus of my channel and never was. And it's not going to be forever, you know. It's actually nothing new. Paul absolutely wants to be a leader. No, I won't say I want to be a leader of anything. Don't follow me. Jesus Christ is my leader. He should be yours too. Follow his words, not mine. It's simple, really. We must be joyful. One, little season powerful. I might be misunderstanding you though. Paul, are you drifting into preterism? SP, what do you mean? No? I won't say I'm drifting into preterism. Has anything I said ever changed? Like, I don't know what you mean. No, I don't follow the 1600 doctrine created by Jesuits, which is formalized as preterism, which spiritualizes a lot of things and still considers the second coming still to come in the future, and thinks everything was fulfilled in 70 AD, but there's been an eternal millennial kingdom since then. No, I think there was a reign on earth physically of the saints resurrected, maybe Christ as well, that ended, and we're now in the little season of Satan, awaiting the great white throne judgment at the end of time. That's where preterism ends after the 70 AD stuff, from what I've researched, you know. No, I won't call myself a preterist. Do you believe in the Trinity as taught in Catholicism, or that the Creator and Christ are separate? Please elaborate either way, as it's something I've struggled with, especially when praying, says EVA. And to be honest, it's something I've also struggled with. I don't know. Christ says that me and the Father are one. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. But at the same time, you know, he discusses that he prays to his Father in heaven himself. And he talks about God as though it's his Father in heaven. It's separate from him. So there's a paradox here. There's a duality that I can't square from my perspective as a humble, limited human who doesn't see it from God's perspective, you know. So I know people don't like hearing this, especially anti-Trinitarians. But I put it down to is it really is a mystery that I can't solve. And I'm kind of okay with it being a mystery on that front. I personally, I am okay with it. It doesn't bother me whether I know if God is Christ or if Christ is separate from God. All I know is that what Christ did was come back from the dead, conquer death, rise from the grave after taking the keys from Hades and offering us a way to the Father through him, through his sacrifice, and by being covered in his blood. When it comes to final judgment, we can be seen as spotless in the Father's eyes through his sacrifice and his work alone, not by our own works. And that's all I really need to understand. The gospel's simple in that respect. I'm not willing to fight over the Trinitarian, anti-Trinitarian concept. I just think it's a waste of time, personally. I don't think it detracts away from Christ's sacrifice and the work that was done. And I don't think we should let it detract us away from the important stuff. But that is a highly factionalized, splitting apart topic, which I would say to you personally, don't let it tear you apart. You know what I mean? Don't. Because I really think it's going to be one of those mysteries we're never going to fully be able to contend with. I really do. And that's it, really. Paul, would you ever compromise your public opinion to please YouTube, as your family income now relies upon it? Well, my income doesn't just rely on YouTube. I have other avenues. I have Patreon as well. I've got book sales. I've got other things. YouTube's just a part of it. So I don't rely on this, but I also understand there's a game you got to play on YouTube. I'm not an idiot. And yes, there are some things I'm not going to say on YouTube. But that doesn't change my opinion. My opinion doesn't change. I'm just going to tell you, I can't tell you my opinion. I'm not actually allowed to say it. You know what I mean? That's not compromising my opinion. It's just me telling you, I can't tell you my opinion on this platform. You know, there may be other platforms out there where I'm a bit more free and easy to give my opinion more readily. When I'm on other people's podcasts, for example, I'm capable of saying whatever I want, you know? And me and JT have been talking about this, but we're going to try and find a way in which we can kind of maybe have a podcast together where we can just say what we want, unfiltered. You know? But yes, on YouTube, I am going to filter what I say a little bit, because you have to play that game if you want to stick around. Like, I'm not going to be an idiot like, and just say something completely outrageously ridiculous, which might be true, but is pure ban bait. Like, why would I do that? Like, I'm not an idiot. Like, I'm not going to be baited into doing it either to make me feel guilty about it. It's like, come on. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory as of the begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Yeah, I know. I've heard it all. You can all start throwing at me your arguments either way. I've heard them all. Okay, and I lean more towards the idea that Jesus Christ is God in the flesh. He is the Word made flesh. You know, he proclaimed that he was the I am to Caiaphas. You know, and I think Jesus made it clear. You know, he is intrinsically linked with God himself, in a very literal sense. But there is also that way that his own language itself was he spoke to the Father as though it was a separate entity from him as well. You know, and it's like, why have you forsaken me? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do, that type of thing. So there's an issue here. There is an issue, a real issue. Both sides have very good points. And again, it's not something I'm going to be able to answer for you, unfortunately. There are theologians who have been arguing about this for over thousands of years, you know, and possibly killing each other over it. And it's ridiculous to get into that mire when we could be focusing on more just the truth of the simpleness of the gospel itself, you know, and that's kind of it. BitChute is good for speaking freely. Unfortunately, YouTube and TikTok and popular platforms censor people a lot. Yeah, like there's a line and I don't know where it is. So I've got to be very careful about what I say. That's basically it. My wife says, coming from the accountant of the family, our income doesn't rely on YouTube. No. It's a part of it. It's a good part of it, don't get me wrong, but it's not we'd survive without it. Let's put it that way. And plus, YouTube is so fickle with their income. Like it's not as stable as for a conspiracy theorist. It's not like other YouTubers. We earn pennies compared to other YouTubers. It's not the same. The Trinity is a mystery for sure. We can't really comprehend how it works, but we can believe it because the Bible teaches it. This is what I mean. I mean, there's arguments on both sides. Absolutely. I get it. And yeah. A few agitators in the house with veiled insults sounding jealous and argumentative. It comes with the territory, Joey, for one. It happens a lot. More so than often these days. I get a lot of horrible comments lately. Real backbiting, miserable comments from slimy, disgusting people who just want to troll for the sake of trolling and really get under my skin, you know what I mean? And I find it's come with gaining more subscribers and getting a lot more of those characters leaving those disgustingly smarmy, horrible, underhanded, gaslighty comments. And it's like, I've taken recently to defending myself when someone leaves an obviously false statement about me. And I just say, you're wrong. And they go, all right, don't get touchy about it or something like that. It's kind of like, no. Don't you come onto my channel and blatantly lie about me and then try and make out that I'm crazy for telling you you're wrong. That's called gaslighting, and it's not going to fly. And then I ban them. It's very simple, you know? And it's a lot of that, though. Because it's kind of, if I do respond, they'll try and make me look crazy for responding. If I don't respond, then I'm leaving a comment out there that's just a lie about me that people might believe. So can you see how I'm kind of trapped? It's like I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. So it's easier just to defend myself against them and then delete. Bam. It's just much easier just to do that. And it's not nice or great. I don't enjoy doing it. That's kind of the only way I can keep any semblance of sanity on this channel, unfortunately. He says he doesn't want to be a leader too much, says Paradoxically Certain. All right, well, see, this is what I mean. You're one of the underhanded, backhanded, smarmy commenters, aren't you? The other type of person, it doesn't matter what I tell you, you're just not going to listen to what I've told you. I'm going to continue with your delusions anyway and try and make out to everybody that I am a liar, out to control or deceive or something like that, which is why you're going to get banned. It's very simple. Zero tolerance. And my moderators know the same thing. It's like, no tolerance for this nonsense. Why? Why bring that? What does it help? It helps nothing. It helps nobody. It just causes division for no reason. Paul, are you Paul? I'm not sure what you mean there. Okay. What's going on here? The chat's got away from me massively. Oh, yeah, we get trolls in our chats. They're so cruel, says Chiro Sounds. Yeah, well, Chiro Sounds, speaking of which, obviously, you've messaged me. I'm going on your podcast soon, aren't I, as well, to talk about the clown stuff, I think. Yeah, if I remember correctly. I'm looking forward to that. That should be good fun. And obviously, we'll work out sharing that on my channel afterwards, get you guys some support as well. But yeah, trolls are trolls. They come with YouTube. It is YouTube. And you know what? I talked about this before, but there really is like, I think I'm arguing with robots maybe 70% of the time. Like, because the responses you get is kind of like, what human speaks like this? Like, what real human being with empathy and emotion and like cognitive faculties gives these vague answers like that a human wouldn't? And I do have to remember and laugh sometimes. It's like, oh yeah, like maybe like 70% of the traffic nowadays in comment sections is just made up by robots and AI. Like, we've got to be careful. Anne-Marie. Yes, you and I were both victims of, yeah. Yes, that's right, Anne-Marie. I apologize that you were dragged into that mess. I'm sorry. You deserve better. I'll say that. We have to be our own trolls. You need a certain amount of troll to help keep your edge sharpened. Well, yeah, look, after 10 years now, it's kind of, it's water off of the duck's back type of stuff for me. It is just a zero tolerance policy. That's kind of just the policy I've taken, and it's simple as that, really. Doesn't, you know, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't stop it from being annoying because I have to read the comment before I get rid of them. But it is what it is, isn't it? It just is what it is. Do you know of a good breakdown of Revelation as a whole? Yes, go to the Rev's channel on Truth Unfiltered YouTube. He's in the chat right now. Rev, make yourself known, say hi, and go check out his breakdown. He goes verse by verse through all of Revelation from a Little Season perspective and breaks it all down. You're doing great, Paul, says James Carter. This is a sacrifice for sure. Satan's been working in the church from the beginning, baiting people into decisive arguments to divide. He is good at it. That's right, James. And people that don't know, James Carter is the man who gave me the phrase, the shelf of wonder. He's the guy who first gave me the idea and explained it to me, and I thought it's such a fantastic metaphor for how we should conceptualize things. And if you're wondering more about that, watch one of my tips for truthers. It's called the shelf of wonder, and it's something I think we should all utilize in our journeys. Question, can you tell us a little about Tartaria? No, I can't tell you a little about Tartaria in 10 minutes, which is all I have left. Unfortunately, no chance. No, a little about Tartaria is not possible. It's understood that it's a lost civilization that ended not that long ago, about 200 to 300 years ago in our history, and has been covered up and removed somewhere roughly in the Siberia region, the Mongolian Siberian region of the Earth. But its empire spanned all across the earth, it seems, and they had antiquitech or advanced technology built into as a functional form of their architecture. And those who don't have Christ are running around in circles trying to piece together who these people were and what their role was and what happened exactly and where the enemies were and so forth. The millennial reign of Christ theory conceptualized it as they were just a faction or a kingdom or a part of the millennial reign of Christ, which explains the worldwide shared culture of advanced people and advanced civilization. It was because it was run by Christ and his saints. And that's basically the two there. Very quickly summarized. Very quickly. There's a lot of stuff there. I actually love what you do, Paul. You break new ground. I'm a supporter for sure, says Steve Oz. Well, thank you. I'm trying to break new ground. Yeah. Are you willing to talk with Old World Florida about Florida being Eden? There's a few interesting lineups there, says Von. Yes, I guess. But again, I don't want to make too much more content on that particular topic. And I'm getting very careful about guests on my channel these days. I used to be like, I'd have an open door policy, and it keeps biting me in the ass. Again, people I let in sometimes turns out they weren't really friends, and I shouldn't have let them into my house to begin with. Ended up using me or abusing me or turning against me or something. And I've got to this point now where, you know, I'm going to be very selective about who I'm letting onto my channel as guests now. But I'll still go out there on other people's podcasts to talk about these ideas. That's for sure. But yeah, I just talked with Old World Florida about the clown connection, and, you know, we're on good terms, so I don't see why not. I discovered your tips for Truthers series. It seriously helped me, Paul. Thank you. It was a relaxing way to just breathe and stop feeling alone. I'm glad, Colton. That's good to hear. Yeah, the Tips for Truthers is a passion project of mine. My Truther therapy sessions here are just a way for people to talk it out and gain a connection, talk in the chat with each other, listen to me ramble on, and I guess just not feel so alone. That's kind of what all this is for. This is what this podcast is really for. It's for the people out there who are tired on their journey and just need a rest. Just need to have a rest with like-minded people and recenter, you know. And I hope this podcast is doing that for you people, for everyone who's here today. I really do. my wife. No, I can't. Proceeds to try anyway. It's just in my nature. I can't help it. If someone asks for something, I'll try and help. So the next one is, Paul, do you think the resurrection, Hymenaeus and Philetus, were confusing was what happened after Christ's death? AKA confusing the first resurrection with the second. Well, I think the first resurrection happened over a long period of time, because there were those who immediately rose from the dead with Christ's resurrection, and it's documented, like I said in Matthew, they could see these elders walking around, these great people everywhere, But then I also think after tribulation, there was a resurrection that took place there as well, of all those who died for Christ and were tortured and martyred for his namesake. And I think those martyrs and those initial resurrected from Abraham's bosom are the first resurrection combined. I think those make up the beginning and the end of the first resurrection of that 40-year generational season period where Christ dies resurrected and is ascended to heaven, and then a generation passes and the temple's destroyed and tribulation begins. I think the beginning and the end of that first resurrection happens there in that time frame, and then the second resurrection doesn't happen until the 1,000 years has ended. It's clear, the rest of the dead aren't resurrected till the 1,000 years has ended. And so I don't think they were confusing the two personally, but I think maybe they could have misunderstood the idea that it's a long resurrection. It's people are being resurrected throughout that time period. It's not just like a one and done event type of situation. Possible. That's where they got the confusion from, where they got the bad ideas from, which Paul was refuting. Maybe. It's a good idea. I like your thinking there. Thanks, Say by Jesus. I appreciate the support. Good. I've seen too many truth seekers become infiltrated. What do you mean infiltrated? What would you define as being infiltrated necessarily, KRB? Like, what are the parameters in your mind? And what would have to happen, do you think, behind the scenes for somebody to become infiltrated exactly? Like, I'm curious to know what you mean by that. What do you think happens exactly? Like, what's your theory? Like, because I think there's many reasons why people change their minds about ideas and theories, and maybe go back on things. And I think there might be things happening in their personal life you don't know about, which is making them having to change. Family life that could be happening that you don't know about, that's making them change. They could be having a mental breakdown, and they could, through trauma or coping mechanisms, need to believe a certain thing that goes against the thing they were talking about originally. They could be too overwhelmed with the truth or the reality of the situation and need to believe the lie because of psychological issues. Way before you assume they've been bought and paid for and have sold their soul to the devil. There are so many other factors you need to consider first, is what I would say. And that's where I come up with this phraseology: assume ignorance before malevolence. Like, people are complicated and messy. Okay, there's many reasons people might behave in a certain way that you don't like before you assume that they're doing it on purpose because they want to deceive or something. You know what I mean? Like, people are messy. That's what I'd say. I watched an old episode with you and John the Bon. It was funny watching him deny globe and flat earth. They have no real answer to where we live. But it was cool listening, says Steve Oz. Yeah, John the Bon was a cool guy. He was a very gracious host when I went on his channel to talk about the Nephilim clown stuff. And I got him on to talk with me on the Truth of Therapy sessions because he was kind of in that flat earth scene when it first arose. And he's now positioned himself as like the world's leading skeptic or something around that idea. And I know he denies a lot of things and he's against a lot of ideas, but he's done some great work on history. And he explains how when you follow the sources of books and follow where that source got their source from and where that source got their source from, you realize he doesn't really go much further back than like 200 years any time. It's kind of, all of our books are written by, all the information we have is from a book written by a book by a book by a book by a book that doesn't even go that far back. So he's like fabricated history. He actually has quite a lot of valuable information on that too. But yeah, I thought he was a really funny guy. I think he's got a good sense of humor, a good head on his shoulders. People have their opinions about him. But I thought we had a good conversation, you know, even though we disagree in a lot of things, and he went on to me and I pushed back and he pushed on me, but we didn't like fall out over it, you know. I think we just had a good rapport about it. That was fun. Thanks. Shout out from Vancouver Island. Your message is reaching the world, says Gus Thorne. Thank you, Gus. I really appreciate that. It's good to hear. They act like CIA assets would be my take. If JT follows JC, does too many mixtapes, infiltrated. If Paul suddenly becomes a clown, infiltrated. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does seem like the parameters might be slightly, I don't know, subjective for each individual. You know, I think every individual has their own level of what they're willing to like see before they go shill. So you can't win. You can't win, can you? I believe we have successfully awakened my brother over here in Mississippi. I come down here and make him listen to you, Paul, says Truth Unfiltered. Well, that's brilliant. That's good to hear. Tell him I say hi. Why would the Church of Rome Orthodoxy be the one true church? It isn't. Rome persecuted the first Christians. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. Sorry, guys, the chat's wildly blown away from me and I'm losing it. But I'm going to have to end this show soon anyway, because it says here I've been going for 2 hours, but I think that it might not be. Let me just check on YouTube, because I had an issue with the start time. I might be 10 minutes behind. Just quickly check. But as you can hear, my voice is going. I don't know if I can actually go on for much longer. This is really painful now. I'm just going to check the actual time the streams are going on for. Yeah, 1 hour 46. So there would be about 10 minutes left normally. Get your questions in, guys. Any last minute questions, let me know now, and I'll see if I can get any answers in for you. Happy Easter, and thank you for your ponderings, perspective, and perseverance. May God bless, says Pop Smith. God bless you too, Pop. Thank you. Quick drink here. Your Truth and Therapy sessions are always very encouraging and edifying, says SP. Brilliant. That's what I'm going for. Oh, God. I'm losing it. I'm not going to be able to speak tomorrow. You're doing great work, Paul. Not quick to label anything as faith. Always stems knowledge, in my opinion. Yeah, well, you know, like I said, I'm never going to be one that says God told me this is the truth, because I don't know that. Like, I can have a feeling, like, oh yeah, I feel like I've been, you know, nudged this way maybe a little bit, but this is so saith Paul. So thinketh Paul, not so saith the Lord. You know, let's always make that clear. I love that our community tries to be transparent and straightforward, regardless of our stage. We all share a common goal: reach everyone, bring them to the winning team. That's right. That's all it's about. You know, we're all just working together to get everyone to Christ at the end of the day. It's a simple, humble task. Like it doesn't have to be complicated. Manuka honey for that throat, says Trish. I haven't got any honey, not Manuka anyway. I've got the cheap stuff. So we're going to have to find something. Alec and I were able to explain the little season topic with his brother and mum over our family vacation last week. They were intrigued and we gave them each a Jesus Kept His Word book. Fantastic. Yeah, this book right here. If you haven't got your copy already, go and get it. A member of the community wrote this. He's a British guy. He likes to remain anonymous, but he's always messaging me, giving me encouragement and telling me how well the book's doing. Over 3,000 copies sold since we've been promoting on this channel. I make no money from that, by the way. That's all goes to him. And he deserves it because this is a fantastic book. It's 50 pages long. It's cheap. He sells it for pennies online, like $5 or something like that. Buy him in bulk. Give him out to your friends and family. It very quickly gets the message out. And I endorse the book. Okay, free advertising for him. He's not paying me to say this. He really isn't. I make no profit from this. There's nothing of the sort. I just think it's fantastic. it's a really great book. And I've read a few passages from it on this channel. Maybe I'll sit down and do a full audio book for the guy one day, free of charge, and it literally takes like 2 hours to read, so why not, you know? But yeah, if you want introduction to concept and to give something to give to your friends and family to explain the concept, get this book on Amazon. Find this book. Here's an image. Burn it into your retinas. Go and find it on Amazon. It's usually advertised next to my book these days, so you can't miss it. But yeah, that's great to hear. Wonderful. Let's check the chat here. Are you going to go on Joe Rogan? I heard you were planning on doing that, says SP. Why did you hear that? Like, I have never once said, ever, under any context, I am planning to go on Joe Rogan. Those words have never come out of my mouth until that one moment right now where someone can just clip it and say that's what I've said out of context. But no, I have never said that. And if you've heard that, they're lying. They're lying to you. Like, look, I've spoken with Eddie Bravo. Okay. Someone called Flat Bear, who knows the guy, got me in touch with him on Instagram and hooked me up to talk with him about the little season topic. I talked with Eddie Bravo about it. It's there for you to see. After that, a month later, Eddie Bravo asked me if I have any short videos summarizing the little season theory. It's on Instagram, and I said, well, I don't. Like, all my videos are long. Flat Bear made a video, 2-3 minutes long, using my voice. You can use one of them. I said, no, bro, it's fine. I found one. And he found a random, like, section 1 of 3, where I'm talking to Bo from the Bump podcast, Bo Kennedy, explaining it to him like a year ago. And he shares that with Joe Rogan live on air during some kind of fight podcast or something like that. And I didn't know he was going to do that. He said he was going to, I'm seeing Joe Rogan in a few weeks. I want to share it with him. I didn't know he was going to do that live on air. So there you go. My clip got played live on Joe Rogan because of Eddie Bravo. And I had nothing to do with it. And from what I saw, Joe Rogan was like, nah. And that was it. That's as far as it's gone. I've never spoken to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's never going to reach out to me to talk to me. He's not interested in the topic or the idea. Eddie is. And Eddie's friends with Sam Tripoli. So he was convinced Sam Tripoli to get me on to talk about it on his channel, which I did just a couple of days ago. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I've just happened to network and get in these spaces where I can talk to these people. But no, I don't have any plans to go on Joe Rogan. And I am not going to fly out to Texas to go on his podcast. I don't care. It's not going to happen. All right. There you go. Why you would have those ideas, I don't understand. And obviously people want to sell me Paul's like a shill because he's got on these big channels. It must be controlled opposition, that kind of nonsense. I've explained to you as clear as day. That's exactly how it went down. There's nothing else. There's no nefarious weirdness going on behind it or anything like that. I've gained nothing from Eddie sharing that on that platform, other than Eddie did a great job at trying his best. And at least Eddie has now spread some seeds to a wider audience about the idea, which is wonderful. That's a good news for the community. Let's just take that win and leave it at that. That's all I can really do, you know? But there we go. That's it. That's all I've got to say about that topic. But no, when you say, I've heard you have plans, it's kind of like, I've never said that. There are a lot of people out there lying about me. You should be aware of that. Ask me first. I'm a very easy to contact person. Yeah. Shauna Rain, I appreciate all the hard work. And I'm going to try and get the clown book from you this year instead of comic book to help keep the topics going. I love your work, bro. Thanks, Shauna. I really thought that for some reason, SP. Look, I know, whatever. It's okay. It's all right. It's just, so there are a lot of people out there who are just making loads of stuff up about me. That would be cool so more people can hear the truth. It may be, but again, even if I did get offered, I'm not going to travel to Texas to do that. I've got a wife and 2 kids. I'm not doing that, you know? No chance. I prefer surprises. Someone's going to do that. Lots of seeds were planted when Eddie brought it up on Rogan. That's from, yeah, that was good news. That was amazing to see. Just gave you a little season guidebook to a leader of my SS. It's not my book. It's not my book. I didn't write this. I did not write this book. He goes by R in our Telegram group. All I know is he lives in England somewhere. I do know his first name, but I'm not going to say it. He likes to be anonymous, and he wrote this book. And it was inspired by some of my own words and the words of this community. And I just think it's really good. So it's short and to the point, and it's cheap, which is why I think it's a good resource for anybody to understand this subject, you know. Hey, Paul, I saw a clip of you saying you were going on Joe Rogan. Thanks, Miles. I needed some levity there. Anyway, I think this illness is making me cranky now. I think I've gone on long enough. I'm going to leave it there, guys. I just don't have any more words to say. Like, I can't physically do it. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. Again, if anyone wants a signed hard copy or paperback of the Nephilim Look Like Clowns, I've got a batch here. I've got about 7 of these and 6 of these. The normal price is £60, £50 for signed and mailed to you, all costs included. But I'm going to do a tenner off each, so that's going to be now £50 and £40 just until the end of April. That's as long as I'm going to run this offer for. If you're interested, email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com and we can arrange to get that shipped out to you and sorted. But other than that, guys, I'm going to be releasing the podcast visits I've been on recently. I've been on the Vitruvian podcast, getting interpersonal about my testimony. I've been on Sam Tripoli's podcast talking Little Season. I've been on David Nino's podcast talking about the clowns. All 3 of those are going to get released over the next few weeks. I'll do my own live shows, Q&As, where I bring an eclectic discussion on many topics of current news, and then the Truth or Therapy sessions every Sunday. I'm sorry I've not done any members-only shows after these Truth or Therapy sessions lately. Again, I can't physically do it tonight, and I was on another podcast last week, but I'll start doing them again later in the week. And on Fridays, I will bring you a new Truther tips video. So that's coming soon, guys. Thanks for listening, and as always, God bless.
At first, I just thought people couldn't financially justify hiring a clown anymore, you know? Then I started blaming the media for portraying my people as bloodthirsty murderers, cult members, or man-eating space aliens. Of course, the 2016 clown sightings didn't help. Ronald was the first to go. They just took him away. And we stayed silent. Because that's when the book appeared. What new form of clown bigotry was this, I thought? Hadn't my people suffered enough? My clown act was failing because people just weren't taking it seriously. And once they fired me from the circus, I tried suing them for funfair dismissal. My unicycle rusted, and my balls gathered dust. I used to make kids scream with laughter, you know. So much that I could see the tears of joy running down their faces. And then it just stopped. I was so upset that I started eating the banana cream pies instead of throwing them in people's faces. I gained so much weight that summer. I avoided it for a while, but the book's front cover was just so eye-catching, and it was so readily available on Amazon that I gave in and finally read the thing. I didn't even know what the Nephilim were. Luckily, the author spent the first half of the book concisely explaining the biblical history to me in an easy-to-understand manner, so that wasn't really a problem for long. That's when I read the rest of the book and realized that being a clown is no joke.